fix my eyes upon the God who gives. 'Cause all I need is what I have in Him. That's why my hope is in. My hope is in the Lord. My hope is in the Lord. I belong to Him. He will never let me go. My hope is in the Lord. I can count on Him. My hope is in the Lord. I can't help but feel a little down, a little worried when I look around. That's why my hope is in. My hope is in the Lord. I fix my eyes upon the God who gives. 'Cause all I need is what I have in Him. That's why my hope is in. My hope is in the Lord. My hope is in the Lord. I belong to Him. He will never let me go. My hope is in the Lord. I can count on Him. My hope is in the Lord. My hope is in the Lord. I belong to Him. He will never let me go. My hope is in the Lord. I can count on Him. My hope is in the Lord.
Very quietly, sit down, please. Now, I would really like for you to sit in the polite audience and not talk and listen to our special speaker. Our special speaker today is Mrs. Patterson, and she's going to share what God has told her to tell you. Good morning. I am so glad to tell you
about this song. So you already know it's my favorite song, right? So look at this picture up here. The next picture, Mr. Michelle. See that little person? Okay, that's me. My mommy told me that I started singing before I started talking, because I love to sing so much. And that's me with my sister and my two brothers. And my favorite song, when you heard, I'd love to tell the story, is one that I heard in church. We all went to church together every Sunday. And I sang that song so much that my brothers used to tell my mom, make her stop! They got really mad when we would go on vacation. I would want to sing it the whole time we were in the car, and we used to drive long ways. This picture is in Washington, D.C. It takes a long time to drive to Washington, D.C., right? And I used to sing that song. I wanted to sing it the whole time. My brothers were not thinking that was a great idea. So I would sing it any chance I would get, because that song was just like my song. It was a song I loved. And I think my brothers might have liked it if I hadn't sung it so much. I think maybe they got tired of hearing it. But when I was studying this song, because I had to study it to do this, right? And I learned so many cool things from the song that even though I've sung it all these years, because I'm really old, so if I started singing before I started talking, I've been singing a long time. And yet I have learned so many really cool things by having to learn about the song to teach you. That's one of the fun things about being a teacher, is when we're teaching you, we learn too. A lot of times you teach us things, And that's really special. And this time I got to learn things because I wanted to teach you. So this is where the story starts. See the red arrow? Okay, that arrow is pointing to England. That's a country across the ocean. So if you look, it goes across the ocean. So that's where this song story starts. All the way across the ocean. In London, England, where that red arrow is. Okay, so that's where the lady that started the song is from. And this is a picture of her. Her name is Arabella Catherine Hinckley. I think Arabella is a beautiful name. I've never heard that name before. And she was born a very, very, very long time ago. Who knows what year it is right now? You can yell it out. What year is it? Exactly. It's 2021, right? She was born in 1836. That was a while ago, right? So she grew up, her daddy was a very rich English banker. Okay, she grew up in a family that was very rich. They went to a church called the Anglican Church, or the Church of England. That's what most people went to in England back then. She taught girls in Sunday school class. She had a heart for the Lord from the time she was very young, and she used to teach girls in Sunday school. Then when she was 18 years old, she started a Bible study for girls. A lot of girls had to work in factories, okay, which wasn't a nice thing, but they had to do that back then. And so she started a Bible study group for the girls in factories. So even when she was very young, and that was 18, and she was leading a group of girls, she had a heart for the Lord. Okay? Well, then our story, it goes a long way. See the star where it started? Follow that red line all the way down to the big arrow. Okay? That's South Africa. So, Miss Arabella Catherine had to go, or chose to go, from London all that way. Now, back then, do you think it was easy to go all that way? No, it was not. But she made a choice because she had a brother, and her brother was sick. And she had studied, and she had become a nurse. And so her brother was down there in South Africa. And so she decided that she needed to go down there and get him and take care of him and bring him back. So she went from England all the way down to South Africa. And while she was in South Africa, taking care of her brother, she got another tug on her heart from the Lord. And that was for something called missions. Okay? Any of my first graders know what missions would mean? She had a heart for missions. What do you think that's going to mean? What do you think, buddy? What's that mean? Yeah. Say it again. That's okay. Who knows about missions? Who could tell me what missions is? Okay, what do you think?
Go places and do something.
You do go places to do something. What do you do if you're on a mission? You do go places to do something. What do you think you do if you're going on missions? No?
Save the world.
That's a great answer. How do we save the world? What do we need to tell them if we want to save the world? What do we need to tell people? If we want to save the world, what do we have to tell them about?
I think the answer is you have to travel and see if there's any clues.
Sort of. You're going to travel. You're going to save the world by telling them about.
The Lord.
The Lord, perfect. You're going to tell people about the Lord, right? Because that's the only thing that saves us. The Lord. Well, she got a heart for missions when she was in South Africa. Okay, but then when she was 30 years old, Arabella Catherine got very, very sick. And the doctors told her she had to stay in bed for over a year. One whole year. She wasn't allowed to get out of bed because she was so very, very sick. And even then, with having to stay in bed for a year, she wanted to do something for the Lord. So what she did was she started writing poems about Jesus and about things she knew about him while she was laying in bed. And one famous poem she wrote actually ended up making 2 different songs. So the first part of the poem they used for a song called Tell Me the Old, Old Story. It's another wonderful song. And the second part of her poem they used for the song that I'm talking about, that the poem was called The Story Told, but the song we just sang is called I Love to Tell the Story. So they used the second part of her poem that she wrote when she was so ill for the hymn. So you know what? That's one of the first big lessons I learned. First lesson I learned in this, God can take bad things that happen to us, and he can use them for good if we let him. Now, she was so sick, she was laying in bed for over a year. So she could have been mad at God, and she could have been nasty, and she could have just laid there and thought, this is so unfair. I'm so not liking this. This is not fair. But did she do that? No. She laid there in bed, so sick, and wrote about God and Jesus. And she wrote so much and so beautifully that it became even more than one hymn, because she let God use her heart even when she was sick and she had to stay in bed. So God can take things that at first we think are really bad and things that are really not nice, and he can use them, and we can do wonderful things if we let him. Well, Arabella Catherine, was also a musician. So she tried to write the music for the second poem also, because people liked her poem so much. But you know what happened? People didn't like the music she wrote for it so much. They liked the words she wrote, but the music she wrote, it just didn't make people really feel like it was the right music for that song. So our story continues. Guess what? Now we go from South Africa, see where we were? All the way up, see that? To another country, Canada. Okay, so the story keeps growing. So there was a man named Major General Russell, and Major General Russell loved her poem, and he was at a big conference for young Christian men in Montreal. That's the city in Canada, in Montreal. And he gave a wonderful sermon, like you guys hear your pastors do sermons, right? And at the end of his sermon, he read her poem. Well, there was a young man in the group, William. William had written music for more than 2,000 hymns. Is that a lot? Yeah. So if he wrote music, can we go to the next slide, please? If he wrote music for more than 2,000 hymns, this is Major Russell that read the poem. William Doane wrote the music. If he wrote for more than 2,000 hymns, do you think he was really good at writing music? Think so, right? I mean, that's a whole lot, right? Do you know what happened when he wrote the music for this hymn? Do you know what they said? They said, people like your music for this hymn. I know. Isn't that surprising? He wrote for 2,000 hymns. And they said, no, we don't really like your music for this hymn. We're not so crazy about it. So, then our story moves on. This song has done a lot of traveling, right? Well, this is the man that tried, that had written over 2,000 hymns, but even though he was a great musician, I mean, he was wonderful, right? They said, no, I don't know, we don't really like the music that you used for her song. So now, if you look at the little tiny green arrow, we go from Canada, where we are way up the top, follow that little green arrow down, and we go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So that's in the United States, right? That's another country. Well, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, there was another man, all right? This man was named William G. Fisher. Well, Mr. Fisher, he was a musician, and it says a piano dealer. That means he sold pianos to people, okay? Mr. Fisher wrote some music for her song, or her poem. Now, guess what happened this time? What do you think? This time they liked it. Woo! Yes, Mr. Fisher did the right music evidently because they liked it. So finally they thought, oh wait, we have the music and the words from her poem. And so it was finally put together. But you know what? Even when you have beautiful music and you have beautiful words, you need people to hear the song, right? All right, well, so the next things I learned from this, think about all the places our story has been, our song, right? So I learned that God can use us no matter where we are in the world. It doesn't matter, right? He was using people in England and people in South Africa and people in Canada and people in the United States. So does God only use us if we are in Grove City, Ohio? Are we the only important people? No. Does God only use us if we live in the United States of America? No. God uses people everywhere that believe in Him, right? So that's a really important thing to remember. And the other thing to remember is when we have a plan or an idea, that's not always God's plan or idea. Catherine thought her music would be right for the poem. Was Catherine's music right for the poem? Nope, it wasn't. Right? Then William, who'd written so many things, they thought, oh, his music will be right. He's written 2,000 hymns. Was it the right music? Nope. So you know what? When we have a plan, God doesn't always have that same plan. Now, you know what Catherine could have done when her music wasn't right? Catherine could have said, fine, they don't like my music, then I'm not going to let them use the poem. Would that have been the right thing to do? No, if she wanted God to be praised, she shouldn't care how her poem gets music for God to be praised, right? If it takes other people, that's fantastic. So these two guys, see these guys? This is Philip and Ira. Now, Philip and Ira were famous for making what's called a hymn book. Okay, so a hymn book was a book full of songs praising God. Well, Philip and Ira heard her words and the music from Mr. Fisher put together, and they said, I like it. So they said, you know what, when we make our next song, or our next book, we want your song in it. So, what do you think Catherine said? Do you think she said, nope, I don't want my song in your book? No, what do you think she said? Yeah, she said, great, that's wonderful. And you know who else had to say that's great? Mr. Fisher, who writes the music. Mr. Fisher could have said, nope, you're not using my music. Would that have been pleasing to God? No, so Mr. Fisher said, great. So they let Philip and Ira put their music in this song. I found it. This is actually the first songbook that it ever went in, okay, called Gospel Hymns and Sacred Songs. And after they put it in that book, it started becoming famous. Now, what does it mean to be famous? Who knows what that word means? If a song is famous, what does that word mean? David, what does that mean? It does mean it's great, usually. We'll go with usually. Okay, what else does it mean if something is famous? What does it mean? Do you know what it means? What does it mean? Rich. Sometimes you get rich if you're famous. That's true, which, I have something else to tell you about Catherine. What else can it mean if it's famous? If something is famous, what do you think?
Popular.
Popular, good. Famous means lots and lots and lots of people know about it and they like it, right? That's famous. But you know what? You had a great idea when you talk about rich. Do you know what Catherine did? Catherine took all the money she made. She wrote books, okay, and music. She took all that money and she gave it away to help with missions all over the world. She had such a heart for missions that she took all the money. She could have been rich, right? She could have taken all that money and been rich. But she decided to give all that money for missions. Now here's my other lesson I learned. What's that word in the green? All. We must all work together for God's kingdom. Not think we can have or do it all by ourselves. Did Catherine do it all by herself? Nope, she didn't. We have to all work together. She had lots of people work with her, right? So we learned 3 important lessons today, right? Does God use people in just one place? Nope, he doesn't. Do we do it all by ourselves? Nope. Is God's plan the same as our plan? Nope, it's not. Most of the time, it's not. All right? And can God use just some of us? No, we have to all work together, right? All right, thank you for listening. Can you fold your hands, please? Bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for teaching us that you use people all over the world and that you need all of us to work together. Please help us to find ways to also tell your story. May we pray. Amen. All right? Thanks, guys.